We are continuing the Gregory Rodrigues versus Cannonier fight card. Let's get right into it. But remember, this Saturday we are live for the watch party for this fight card. Let's get right into it. Today we have Rodolfo Vieira versus Petroski. Petroski is 12-4. His country is United States. He stands at 6 foot tall on the dot. He weighed 185 pounds in his last win, has a reach of 73 inches and a leg reach of 39 inches. While Rodolfo Vieira, on the other hand, has a record of 10-2. His country is Brazil. He stands at 6 foot as well. He weighed 185 pounds as well, has a reach of 73 inches as well, and has a leg reach of 39.5 inches. So now, just basing it off of this stat, what can we tell? They both have the same height. They both have the same reach. The leg reach is a 0.5 difference. If it was 1, 2, maybe 3 inches, it's not a massive difference. And when it comes to the leg, if you're in range to kick someone, you're in range to get punched. So this isn't a massive difference. It's not going to affect the fight in a distance type of way. But let's go based off of their record instead, right? Petroski, 12-4. Rodolfo Vieira, 10-2. Who has the more experience? Petroski. Who would you more give it towards? Petroski. But in our next stats, it will tell us who you really should be looking at to give it to. So let's move on to those stats, which will be the Tapology win buys. Before we go on to the actual win buys, we're going to start with Petroski here. Petroski has 4 wins via knockout, 3 losses via knockout, 4 wins by submission, 4 wins by decision. And if you look, it says 12-3 here, not 12-4. Now, I do believe his previous loss was this one here. Decision was his last, and it's not recorded here. So his last loss was by a decision. His last win, though, was via decision as well. Most of his wins previously are coming via his decision, but his last loss in the UFC was via ground and pound. Now we're going to move on to Rodolfo Vieira, who has 1 win via knockout, 9 wins by submission. He has 1 loss by submission and 1 loss by decision. But let's quickly move back over to the UFC side. So Petroski, as we know, 33% of everything, with an average fight time sitting at 11 minutes and a knockdown average of 0, while Rodolfo Vieira has a 90% submission, 10% KO TKO, an 8-minute fight time, and a 0 knockdown average. So how has Rodolfo Vieira lost in the UFC mainly? His losses in the UFC have been by ground and pound. So his opponent will take him down or knock him down and land significant strikes on him or hammer fists, causing the ref to step in and stop the fight. We found 2 possible weaknesses in Petroski's game, while Rodolfo Vieira, on the other hand, had a 1 decision loss and a 1 submission loss. So again, we're finding openings into each other's games. Now, based off of this, Petroski is going to be very heavy with the grappling. Very heavy with the grappling, and so is Rodolfo Vieira. I feel like the person who's going to get the submission, if it is to go to a submission, will be Rodolfo Vieira. Petroski, on the other hand, possibly by a knockout. It's a difficult one to call for these two, because Petroski, all of his wins are even for win buys, while Rodolfo Vieira, on the other hand, he has a high submission average, and these two do like to grapple. But let's move on to significant strikes to see how they performed on the feet in their previous fights. With Rodolfo Vieira, have an average of 3 landed per minute, 54% significant strikes, an average of 5 punches absorbed per minute, with a defense of 49%, while Petroski, on the other hand, had an average of 3 punches landed per minute, 50% significant strikes, an average of 2 punches absorbed per minute with a defense of 52%. So basing it just off of these stats, Rodolfo Vieira had landed the significant strikes, he had a little bit of a worse defense, he absorbed a little bit more, but had a better landing per minute. Now, if he was to have this kind of stats going into his next fight, if he absorbs an average of 5 punches and lands an average of 3, if Petroski lands more significant strikes, then yeah, Petroski would win if that goes to a decision. If it goes to a knockout, Petroski has the abilities to do it, but Rodolfo Vieira could possibly land more and force Petroski to have a bit of a worse defense. But Petroski had the better defense, absorbed a lot less, had half of his punches were significant, and just under 3 punches landed per minute. I think on the feet, this is a fairly close fight, but I think you'd give it to Rodolfo Vieira. But that's just my thoughts and my opinions on that. Let's move on to the thing that I believe will be the strict thing in this fight, which will be the grappling. Petroski had an average of 4 takedowns, 56% takedown accuracy, 80% takedown defense with a submission average of 2, while Rodolfo Vieira, on the other hand, had an average of 4 takedowns, 30% takedown accuracy, 100% takedown defense, and a submission average of 2. Do I think this fight hits the canvas looking at their defense? Yeah, I think one of these two, or they both, get some takedowns here. Rodolfo Vieira, only 30% accuracy, bar very high average. But look at Petroski's, very high average, over half takedowns. His takedown defense was not perfect, but it was good. It was very, very impressive. And Rodolfo Vieira's was perfect based off his previous opponent. Andre Petroski could have a lot better grappling than his previous opponent, which could cause some issues for Rodolfo Vieira, and I think it might in this one. Does that mean Rodolfo Vieira loses by submission or ground and pound? I don't know. How do I think this fight plays out? I think it's going to be a fairly even fight on the ground, and I think it'll be a fairly even fight on the feet based off the stats. When we actually get to the fight, it will not be a fairly even fight. I think we will be seeing the differences massively when the fight comes. But that is just my thoughts and my opinions. What do you guys think? Who do you think wins? How do you think they win? Apart from that, I'll catch you in a bit. Take care and peace.